I believe telling my own story or talking about my HIV status and my journey will somehow impact on people, will somehow change behavior, will somehow make somebody think about going to get an HIV test. And one of the reasons I initially disclosed publicly was that I wanted young people to see that HIV is not for black women only who live in squatter areas or informal settlements. It was really about young people should see that people like them, same age, because I was about 24 when I was diagnosed, same age, they may have the same social and economic background, can get HIV. We are all vulnerable. All can get HIV, and that HIV is not for certain people, and that HIV is not for promiscuous people. I was in a relationship when I got HIV, but I think overall my message is just that living with HIV as I am and other people is that I want people to see me for who I am and not to see HIV because I'm not defined by my status. I am Jason at the end of the day, and first and foremost, that's who I am, and that's what people should see. And when they look at other people living with HIV, that's who I want them to see, and not to see HIV, and to relate to them at that level, because HIV does not necessarily define anyone. For me, it's really leadership. It's really being having a cause that you're standing up for, something that you believe in, something that you're doing something about, not just talking about it. It means going out there and either educating people or living the life or practicing what you're preaching. But at the core of it is really standing up for something and doing something about it to see change happening. I mean, it's hard to measure whether change is happening because of what I've done or because of my disclosure, but I know to an extent I have impacted on people's lives differently. I've met people from around the world who've seen me or who've heard of me. They've never met me, and they've always told me about how I've changed their lives. I think so far the government has responded quite well. We have ARVs, even though it's something we had to fight for. We have treatment for opportunistic infections. We have access to condoms. We don't have as much access to female condoms. However, I feel there are certain things that still need to be done. One being that we do not have public education on ARTs, adherence, what ARTs are, how do they work, for the general public. That's one. Two, I think the government, maybe the South African government, has ignored, the homosexual and maybe men who have sex with men, that community, and have ignored the impact that community have on the epidemic. And maybe generally in Africa we have de-gated the disease or HIV when we should have looked at it in totality. Yes, in Africa it is so much more of a heterosexual epidemic than a homosexual epidemic. The issues with condoms, and maybe even for young people, has been that condoms have carried a lot of stigma, especially in terms of the messages that we get. That a lot of young people are told to abstain. If you don't abstain, be faithful. If you don't, then use a condom. So nobody really walks around carrying a condom saying, I'm going to have sex. And my view is that we should view a condom as something that saves lives, not something to be ashamed of. When we put condoms in the bathrooms, even if it's at school, they disappear, but we don't know who takes them. So generally condoms are accessible in South Africa. We give them out for free, but whether they're used or not, it's a different, ball game. And sometimes I do get upset when I'm the one who's expected to bring condoms only because I'm living openly with HIV. And I think I've always made it clear to, to my partners that I do not like the fact that I'm the one who has to bring a condom, because everyone is responsible. They are responsible for protecting themselves. I'm responsible for protecting them. you know. So I think everyone is responsible, and I think people should look at it that way. You know, women should not wait for men to bring the condoms, and the men shouldn't wait for women to bring condoms. You know, everybody should just really take the responsibility to say, This is my life." You know, whether I go into marriage or not, but this is my life, and I'm going to take responsibility for it. So I'm hoping to make a positive contribution towards towards stopping the further spread of HIV. You know, new incidences, especially among young people, or the general, population. So those are my hopes that in 5 years' time or in 2 years' time, the numbers would have dropped in terms of new incidences, and this would be because of what I would have done. My name is Jason. I live in Centurion, but I was born and bred in Soweto. I have been living with HIV for the last 9 years.
Then I can see. Never judge